Alex Radical from Board Game Co., and this is something different instead of the week in review. So, let's just get a little bit caught up on what's going on with my life right now, or more specifically, my travel schedule. Recently, I had Level Up Retreat, which I'm sure you know about. After that, I had Gamma. I just had Gamma, which I just got back from. And now I'm going to the Gamers Ranch with a, break of being home for, 3 days before heading out to the Gamers Ranch. Which means it's currently Monday, and I'm filming the week in review because I'm going to be gone as of, soon. I'm going to be gone very soon. So, that's kind of what's going on here. And I was like, you know what, I could do the regular week in review. I can go ahead and, to some extent, I wouldn't have as much updates on things, but I could probably find some news things to catch up. I was just at Gamma after all. Lots of games to go over. Lots of fun things coming up, some of which I can talk about, some of which I can't. Honestly, the ones I'm most excited about are the ones that I can't talk about yet, but let's leave you with that for something to wonder about throughout the rest of the year. But I could just do the news to some extent. I could do the schedule of the week, the videos, but I think that for me on a personal level, this is purely personal. I should also note, by the way, this video is likely to be in the pure chaos realm. I have 2 or 3 things I kind of want to touch upon if I remember to do so. This video might end with me being and that's it. I can't remember the rest of the stuff I want to talk about, so have a good one. That might happen. Embrace the chaos. This is one of those pure chaos videos with the most minimal amount of an idea of what I want to talk about, for better or for worse. Which means I need to go back to what I was talking about a second ago to remember schedules. Yeah, I find that when I do the week in review earlier than it's supposed to, I find I'm not as into it. It feels a little bit like, I don't know, doing it out of time, if that makes sense, because I'm trying to do it, the week in review is supposed to be something I do on, I used to film it Wednesday. I've actually shifted. I now film it, Thursday and Friday, because I like getting that extra day closer, especially because it is news-related, and then, here's the week in review. And review does matter. I'll talk about the things, I'll talk about, oh, I did this video, and you guys replied and commented like that. I'll talk about general engagement when it's relevant, which isn't always, but at least I have an understanding. To me, the week in the future feels less compelling, less real, less natural. It feels more like I'm faking the timing of the video to match up. So I do it here and there. I did it last week. Last week's week in review was filmed on Tuesday. That's earlier than it should be filmed. But I just didn't want to do that this week. It felt, doing it twice in a row felt like a little bit too much for me. And so I was like, what can I do? What can I do at all? I could just do no video, which is fine. I guess because of how consistent I am with my content, I feel just disappearing doesn't feel right. And maybe some of you, most of you probably wouldn't notice or care to a large extent. There'd be a little, Alex didn't post a week in review this week. And you'd move on with your life. I know that because that's how I would be with 99.9% of the people who I watch their content. I have been watching Philip DeFranco nearly consistently daily for the past 14 years. And if he doesn't post a video, I'll be like, guess he's on vacation and I missed an update. Okay. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Now, if he disappears for a month, I'll start worrying if he's dead. But I assume someone else will be on top of that. I guess all of this is to say that there's always the perspective I'm coming at things from and the perspective you might have. And those are very different, and I've never known how to balance that well. And that will be relevant to other things we might talk about in this video. This is going to be pure chaos. Hopefully, that'll be the best outcome. So anyways, my point is, I don't feel good just missing a week in review. I don't feel good just missing any video. That one time I took a vacation, I did a whole video announcement hey, I'm filming 4 videos less this week, just so you know I didn't die. Now, I could post that in the community updates for those of you who actually care enough. I don't mean that meanly. I know you care. I know you love me. I appreciate it. I love you too. This is awesome. Thank you. But for those of you who notice enough to care, at least I assume you would do what I would do, because I assume everyone's exactly like me, stupidly so. Which is, if I actually cared where Philip DeFranco was, I'd be like, let me go to the community update post and see if he posted something. That would be enough. I'd be like, oh yeah, look at that. He said he's on vacation for 3 days. Boom, back to work. Okay. Or if he posted nothing, again, I wouldn't actually read into it. So I could post that. But for some reason in my head, this is important. For some reason in my head, if I'm going to miss something, if I'm going to break schedule, it is important that you know. I want to be as clear as possible with you that you know. Why? I don't know, because I can't get out of my own head of how important this is and into the framework of a viewer. So I'm only operating as the content creator and not as the viewer. So again, my options were post a regular week in review. I didn't want to this week. Again, that's the timing thing. I like doing it towards the end of the week, not towards the beginning. I could alternatively post no video or no week in review and just say, hey, there's regular videos. There's still gonna be 2 reviews, but no week in review. I could have done that. probably wouldn't have mattered to most of you, but I don't like doing that. I could just post a 30-second video saying, hey, no week in review. That feels like the worst option. Or I could just talk. And I decided that today we're going to go with the just talk route. But then that puts me spiraling in my head again, because then I start getting in my head as to, if I just talk, is that being perceived as, well, you know, gotta make that content no matter what, which to a certain extent is what the problem is. But I don't want it to come across that way. I don't want it to come across like, well, you're just doing a video for the sake of doing a video, which usually I'm not. Usually I have a schedule. Usually I have a backlog. I have so many things I want to talk about. It's just a question of where they go on the calendar. This one's kind of like well, what could fill that slot? And then I spent like literally, I was like sitting here with like just my feet up, my beautiful blue socks. I was sitting here for like 15 minutes being like, what could I do that would be like actually worth doing? Like, what could I actually talk about that's worth it? And then I decided that there was something that was on my mind recently. There's something that's on my mind about the nature of other content creators and how they relate to their audiences. Because everyone's a little different. Everyone's a little different in the way they do things, and the way they approach things, and the way they approach their audience and interact with their audiences, for better or for worse. I guess I'm trying to figure out how to phrase the next thing. Everyone's a little different in terms of how they interact and engage with their audience and the type of presentation they have. I have always strived for trying to feel a bit more like we're just people who can talk to each other. I've always strived for that. I don't know how well I've achieved that or not. This is one of those things where this whole process of reflection had me thinking to myself, well, how do I view other content creators? Which content creators do I watch that I feel they're just there to present information, versus which ones do I feel are more than that, if that makes sense? And there's areas I'm better and worse at. Like, there's community engagement in person, there's community engagement in like digital channels, there's the way we just communicate in a video. Like, I've always tried to be like, hey, this is me, this is you, we're just talking about board games. We just like the thing that we like, and we both like it together. Isn't that like so cool and amazing? And I try to take this conversational approach in everything I do, whether it's a review, which those are more structured, I guess, but that's part of why in my week in review, which I'm not doing this week, it's part of why I try to do that look back where I'm like, let's talk about it a bit more conversational, like friend to friend, like I like that game, I didn't like that game, here's my thoughts on there. It's just a little bit more casual and a bit more focused on the conversational approach. My reviews aren't as conversational as I'd like. My unboxings are entirely conversational. It's just chaos, because that's what I'm here. I want that. I want that feeling that we're just people who care about board games. Because to a large extent we are. That's how any content creator starts. Any board game content creator starts that way. Because you don't get into this hobby unless you care about board games. You start talking about board games because you love board games. And then from there, it starts turning into an adjustment in how you engage with everything. Now, some approach how they start content very differently. Some are like, hey, here's the thing I'm trying to do. Like, I remember Rodney Smith, I remember he said this before, where when he first started doing how to plays, he was more conversational. He'd throw a joke in here or there or whatever. And then over time, he realized people weren't there for the jokes. They were there for the how to play. And so he started dialing it back to, here's the how to play. It's not a running conversation. I'm not making a reference to something I said in the last video. It's not an ongoing anything. This is what you came here for. You came here for the how to play. This is what I'm giving you. And he does an amazing job with it. That's not what I want for myself, though. I don't want that. If somebody's not here for me, that's okay. Go somewhere else. That sounds so egotistical. Oh my gosh. That sounds so terrible. Hopefully I came across the right way. I don't mean if you're not here for me. Obviously, you're here for the board games, but if my personality isn't baked into the content, if the back and forth that we have, the engagement we have, again, whether it's comments, Discord, in person, whatever it is, if that's not part and parcel, that's okay. I'm just not the content creator for you. If you're looking for the best edited videos, if you're looking for the best scripted videos, if you're looking for the best B-roll, if you're looking for any of those things, I'm not that channel. I don't have any ambition to be that channel. I want to be here because something about the way I communicate resonated with you. Something about the way I talk resonated with you. Something about the speed at which I talk resonated with you. I want there to be some degree of, you're here for me, not just for the board games. Again, that sounds egotistical. Hopefully it's coming across the right way. And it's not because I've ever sat here and said, hey, I want a bunch of people to like me on the internet. That is nice, by the way. I don't know if we've ever talked about this. I'm sure I have. If you ever watched my whole wave, this is spiraling. This video is spiraling. If you ever watched my history of, like, my history video series, I did talk about the fact that I had major social issues in, like, 5th grade, starting in 5th grade, all the way heavily through 8th grade, and then lingering all the way to, like, 10th, 11th grade. I had big social issues. My favorite song growing up, I had no plans to talk about this in the video. I said we're just going to go, and we are just going to go. My favorite song growing up was I Am a Rock, I Am an Island by Simon and Garfunkel. Like, I am a rock, I am an island. No one said I could sing, by the way. No one said I could sing. Because a rock feels no pain, and an island never cries. I have no need of friendship, 'cause friendship causes pain. It's laughing and it's loving I disdain. If I got any lyrics wrong, that's just how I sing. I insert imaginary words to fill the lyrics that I don't know and hope that it goes well until someone corrects me. But that was my favorite song at a certain point growing up because I had major social issues. So it is nice that there are some people on the internet that like me. It's also less nice when the people on the internet decide that they don't like me, which they are going to do. Have any number of people at a large enough size at any point, and you will have people who resent the fact that you exist. I've talked about this on a recent live stream. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. The good news is, thanks to, again, Rodney Smith, thanks to people like Rodney Smith, I've been able to develop those tools over time to understand where and how to let the negative bounce off better. It's never perfect, but like the less stickiness as possible to the negative and as much stickiness as possible to the positive. That's kind of what helps you operate. The danger, if you do that too well, you live in an echo chamber. I don't think I'm there yet because the negative can definitely stick with you, especially when the criticisms come from those who you know are regular viewers, and they're usually polite about it, which is the best part. But if the criticism comes from someone who's a regular viewer, that's when you know you screwed up, and you pay attention to that. You listen. You're like, oh, I guess that was wrong, however wrong is listed. Anyways, this is a tangent. Where was I talking about? I was talking about I wasn't here. I didn't start talking about board games because I wanted people on the internet to like me. All I'm saying is, to me, I am me. I'm not trying to remove myself from the content. I never have, and I never will. I want us to be... Friends is too cliche a word because, yes, I am friends with some people. Like, there are genuine friendships I've made as a result of this channel. Genuine viewers who are part of our Discord, or people who even local who I've made friends with, and I would call a lot of you friends. But I think that to a lot of you, you're potential friends. Let's call you potential friends, because a lot of you I haven't interacted with. Some of you I see at conventions. Some of you I saw at Level Up. Some of you are in Discord. Some of you I've met in real life. But for those of you who I haven't, we're all potential friends. We vibe around the same thing. We're doing the same thing. I've lost the original train of thought. That's what my original train of thought was. I remember my train of thought now. My train of thought that I was trying to go with is that everyone has their own way that they present things. Everyone has their own way of how you are as a content creator. And I do find something I was realizing recently that led me on this spiral is that a lot of people, a lot of content creators, the way they present is almost like they're here to present the thing, and they have their persona, and then they go back to their little hole after the video is done. That sounds so bad. Why am I saying this? Is what happens when you don't take notes on a video. But my point is, a lot of people seem to be there about like, hey, I'm here for the content. I'm doing the content. Now I'm gone. I'll be back with the content later. And I don't know if I always find that sense of personality. Some do. Like, there are people who it comes through more than others, and I don't know which ones. I'm not gonna get on a thing of listing various content creators, or at least not all of them. But I do find that the ones I resonate with the most usually do have a stronger sense of personality behind the content, and it's less about the content being the goal, and it's almost the personality being the goal. I am going to directly lie about everything I said, and I'm going to list a bunch of people who I actually like. It sounds so bad. It sounds like the rest I don't actually like. I'm going to list a bunch of content creators who I like because personality is what drew me in. The sense that this is somebody else behind the camera who's real, who has opinions, who has thoughts, and the way they communicate, it feels like it could be a potential friendship. And in some cases, they have turned into actual friendships. But not everyone's like that, and not everyone has to be like that. Everyone has different reasons for the ways and types of content they do. But just offhand, and these are not going to be surprises to any of you over the years, because these are all people who I have developed relationships with. Thinker Themer, amazing people. I love them. Their personality, the vibeness, the comfort is what pulled me in. Very much Jenna from the Board Game Garden, same idea. There's like a vibe. It's comforting. It's like there are people who kind of beg you to be part of the community just through the very way they exist. Chris George from Board, he is I'm going to say nice things about Chris George. He's a delightful human being who again, the way he interacts really feels like he's begging. Not begging is the wrong term. It feels like they're inviting a relationship, inviting a community there. Foster the Meeple is fantastic, by the way. Foster the Meeple runs an amazing Discord. Like, their community, they are incredibly active with their community. And again, if you watch them on camera, it's so much about them and their presence and their personalities. And that's such a good thing. I don't think to me, this isn't an ego thing. It's just that anyone can talk about insert game X. Why are you watching that person who's talking about game X? SETI came out this year. A million people are talking about SETI. Why are you watching the people that you're watching? For me, it's always been about vibe. Jeremy Howard, oh my gosh, you want to speak about vibe? Jeremy Howard feels like he's your best friend on the other end of the camera. Like, hey, party people, let's go ahead and talk about SETI. I don't know if it's working for you. I'm not here to tell you how you spend your money. It feels like a vibe. Like, these are vibes, and I like vibes. By the way, I should note, this is not a comprehensive list. This is just like a general list. Like, people like Devin Norris, Devin Talks Tabletop, again, like, the fact that he started, all these people started as, like, potential friendships, and then thanks to the fact that I'm in the same space as them, they have very much become genuine friendships. There are so many more. This is not a comprehensive list, but there are different kinds of personalities and different kinds of things. And I think for me, I've always vibed with those that feel like they're inviting that sense of community. Like, I'm not nearly as active in Discord as I should be. I'm active enough. If I get tagged, I respond, but I just can't keep up with everything, and I hate that. I wish I was. Like, I always wish I had more bandwidth than I do. Once upon a time, one of the things I was very proud of when I started this channel was I responded to every single comment, like every single one. Like, I think for the first 8 months, I didn't miss a comment. For 8 months, every single comment was replied to. And then I just couldn't keep up anymore. And then from there, it's just like, I still respond to comments daily. I still make sure to go in daily and respond and engage, but I don't keep up the same way I used to. And the worst part is I can't keep up with responses. So if a conversation starts, sometimes I'm able to see the notification and reply. Other times it gets lost and I started a conversation that I didn't finish. And that's just the nature of growth. Like, I remember I used to watch Tom Vassell at Dice Tower. I used to watch them and be like, why don't you respond to comments more? Like, you have an entire community here. Why aren't you responding to more comments? And Lord knows, I have nothing but the greatest respect for the Dice Tower and the greatest appreciation in a way that I didn't then. Because back then it was easy. It's easy to keep up with your handful of comments. It's a lot harder to do what the Dice Tower does. Speaking of Tom Vassell, oh my gosh, if you want, again, I warned you this is going to be rambling. If you want someone who I tremendously look up to, the consistency that Tom has brought to the board game space, I don't think anyone's been doing it as long as he has, in the way that he has, and still keeping up with it. Like, I'm pretty proud of what I've done. I'm pretty sure I've had a video every single day, often multiple videos, for the past 4 years. I think there's one day I missed one time, and it still bothers me. Oh, there were those days where I took a week off. The amount of videos I've put out, I think I'm at 3,300 videos in the past 4 years. What is that? 5 years now. Alexa, what's 3,300 divided by 5 years?
3,300 divided by 5 is 660.
660 divided by 365. That's an average of 2 videos a day. I've been averaging 2 videos a day for the past 5 years. That's insane. I'm incredibly proud of the consistency that I've had. And then some days I wake up and I'm like, I want a vacation. I want a break. I don't want to do these prototypes anymore. And all the time, I'm constantly reminded of the fact that the Dice Tower is sitting there like a big guilty flashing sign over my head of that's what consistency looks like. And it's hard. It is hard to make your passion into your job and then continue to have it be your passion. It is challenging. There are uphill battles. I've done videos on this. I've done the 10 worst parts about being a content creator, and I meant every single word of it. I've done the 10 best parts about being a content creator, and I meant every single word of it. It is hard sometimes to just keep up with everything you're trying to do, but the problem is I love what I'm trying to do, so I keep trying to do it. And sometimes there's fatigue. Sometimes there's emotional fatigue, and there's, another batch of 3.5s that I don't need to care about. And then other times you find a new game and you're like, oh my gosh, that's another opportunity to discover something cool. And another time you just don't learn. I just don't learn. I am consistently excited about campaign games and big box experiences, and then comes to those purges and I'm like, you know what? It is time to let some of these things go. It's time to break yet another round of promises to myself. I do get better over time, I do, but better does not translate into fixed. I get better at being I don't need that big box experience even though I want it. And I say that 10 times, and 8 of them I'm right, and 2 of them I get it anyway, and then have to deal with the fact that I now have more campaign games to play. So there's a degree of just consistency that Tom brings. I remember one time when I first got into this hobby, that's not true, when I first got into Kickstarter, not the hobby. When I first went down the rabbit hole of Kickstarter, I remember I played the Edge Dawnfall from Awakened Realms. I played the Edge Dawnfall, and I really liked it. And I went into Dice Tower Q&A, and I was asked, and Tom had just reviewed it or something like that, and he liked it, and I was like, oh, is it part of your top 100? And he's like, oh, no. It's it's good, it's not there. And I remember feeling a sense of disappointment, why don't you have that as part of your top 100? Some sense of if he likes it enough to be part of the top 100, that's going to be better for me. And I'm sad that he doesn't. And here I am, and I'm in the reverse side of that equation. Like, I'll have people being like, oh my gosh, like I had somebody once, I said this in a video once, somebody was like, unsub from this channel, I always knew you were a shill because you didn't even put the Great Wall in the top 100. And I'm like, yeah, because my top 100 is chock full of 5s and 4.5s, and the Great Wall is a 4.5 that fell outside the top 100. There's a lot of good games out there. I'm not entirely sure what the problem is. I wasn't even sure if he thought I liked the Great Wall too much or too little. It was a little unclear from the whole thing. But like, there's that degree of emotional investment sometimes, emotional investment in the people you watch and the people you follow, and I certainly had that. I certainly had that with the Dice Tower. Now I have it in a different capacity, but that emotional investment, that seeking validation from others is certainly present. The amount of times I get comments of people who are upset that I liked a game too little or not enough, and I'm like, hey, they're all just opinions. I have opinions, you have opinions, sometimes those opinions will line up, sometimes they won't. There's an entire video I've wanted to do, I haven't done it yet, about the nature of, in order to be an effective content creator, you effectively want your opinions to line up with the majority enough that it adds validation, but not so much that you're useless. If my opinions exactly line up with the Board Game Geek's top 100, like, what do you need me for? I'm just your average person to the most average possible sense of the word. And that is already the Board Game Geek for that. If you just want to go by average tastes, the Board Game Geek exists. Where content creators can shine is when you find someone who lines up with you a little more. When it's not that I'm disappointed that, the Dice Tower didn't like something, but I'm like, Joe, like, not Joe, I don't know why I said Joe. Oh my gosh, Joey, that's what threw me off. I was like, Joe sounds so wrong, why is that? Joey from the Dice Tower. If I'm like, Joey, why didn't you like that game? Because I thought we were vibing, I thought we were on the same page, and then that's disappointing on a personal level because those tastes have synced up a bit. There's actually One Stop Co-op Shop one time did a video of comparing how his taste ranked with other content creators. I thought that was a great idea. It's actually something that BoardGameOfTheYear.org is doing as well, where they're kind of giving you the opportunity to see how your tastes line up with top content creators so you can see who most aligns. Now, the way they're doing it is not necessarily the best way, but it's a good starting point, the way they're starting to do it, because longer story as far as how it's being done, but I think it's a great start, and I think it's not an ideal perfect option, but it's a great start. Seeing where you align with others is very helpful because that's what it is to be a good content creator. Your opinion should not line up with everyone all the time, and you will not line up with each individual all the time. You can't possibly do so. I might share, if I look at my top 10 games, you look at your top 10 games, we might share 4 or 5 of those. And one of yours, I'm like, really? You like that? And 2 of mine, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you give that the time of day. This is good. This is good because we are different people with different thoughts, and we don't need to perfectly align on everything. I've lost the original train of this conversation, which I said I was going to do again and again. Again, I think it was about the whole idea where I was kind of recognizing that different content creators have different spins on the way they interact. I always want to do conversational pieces on this channel. I always do. I always want to do live streams because I think things like that allow a connection that you don't get from a review. You don't get it from a review, you don't get it from a gameplay, you don't get these things as strongly. Well, gameplays can be. Gameplays show a little bit more human energy behind them, at least if done the way I do my gameplays. There's 2 kinds of gameplays. There's the exact nitpicky rules, overhead, zoom in shots, and cut for everything except for the turns you take. Those are great for instructional gameplays. They're not the gameplays I watch. I watch the Dice Tower gameplays, where it's a bunch of people having fun, and I get to get a sense or a vibe of the gameplay experience, and not the rules of how the game plays out. And there's a desire, a demand for both of those. Both audiences, both types have their audience, people who will watch them. You just have to know what works for you. If you're watching this video, I'm almost certainly a content creator that you decided works for you, because this is a random week in review. It's not some, I didn't just review Elden Ring and that's going to bring in a whole new crowd of people who are decide if they like me or don't based off of anything from the opinions I give to the speed at which I talk to the B-roll I do or don't have. Any number of things can give somebody that vibe of there's something here. There's something about this person that I vibe with, or there's something about this person that I don't. And Lord knows I've had both on the internet, in the tabletop space and not in the tabletop space. And there's something magical about finding a content creator that you resonate with that first time, and then almost seeing a backlog of interactions that happen. Like I see this here and there where somebody will find me, and then either on Instagram or on YouTube or both, I'll suddenly get a string of comments or thumbs ups or likes from someone who just discovered me. Like I'll get like 17 comments of boom, 17 notes that somebody just liked 17 photos on Instagram. And that means someone just found my page for the first time and they're scrolling through it and they're liking the things they see. And someone just found me. It happens on YouTube. Somebody finds me and suddenly they start showing up as a regular daily commenter on current and old videos, and it means they found me. And I've had this happen. I remember King of Average, who I don't watch as much as I used to nowadays. He's less active than he used to be. But there was the longest time when I was diving into that tabletop rabbit hole, the Kickstarter rabbit hole, the crowdfunding rabbit hole, I should say, because GameFound, where King of Average became the go-to person that I watched every single video of his, and I watched his back catalog too. I was like, I'm sinking into this world of crowdfunding, and I need somebody who's covering it. And every single, he did these large late pledge videos that I was like, I'm so excited about it, and I dove into them. And I've lost some of that magic, and I think crowdfunding has lost some of that magic, but I think that some of it's me, some of it's the space. But I remember I used to hang on to his every word before I was a content creator at all. I used to hang on his every word because he was covering crowdfunding in a way that other people weren't doing, in a way that I liked, that I appreciated and enjoyed. And then slowly that turned into down the road. I didn't start becoming a content creator because of him, but when I did become a content creator, eventually I started diving into those waters and covering crowdfunding, and then started covering my own. And by covering it yourself in the back end, you lose some of the allure of the front end. A lot of these things can happen. There's magic that can be found by being on other sides of something you love. But then you lose some of the magic at the same time. When you learn how a magic trick works, if you've ever seen a magic trick and you learn how it works and you're like, oh my gosh, I just learned something cool. But you lose the sense of magic, but you gain the sense of appreciation of how it works. And there's something lost and something found at the same time. And I think that's very true of a tabletop content creation, or about anything for that matter. There's something lost and something found. I love what I do. I have for a very long time. And I like talking about things. I like just having conversations. This video started out, and I had no idea how long I would get into it before I just ran out of a train of thought. I had no clue. When I don't take notes on videos, it does not always go well. By notes, I mean I usually have a sense of bullet points. I have okay, here are 5 bullet points. I'm going to cover those, and that gives me enough framework to operate off of. When I don't have that, sometimes it works out well. Sometimes I ramble through it and finish it and it works out well enough. Other times I get 2.5 minutes into it and I delete the video. Those things happen too. This one kind of worked. I don't know what makes one content creator one way and another content creator another. I know that I appreciate all. Not all, but all. I appreciate multiple genres, I should say. I appreciate the comedy and scripting that Shut Up and Sit Down bring, and the level of just sheer entertainment that can be brought to something that well put together as a form of entertainment. I know that I can appreciate the King of Average for his look at the behind the scenes, almost kind of a more hold them accountable view of crowdfunding, but with a degree of reporting as well. I know I can appreciate the more journalistic nature of something like Board Game Wire and the level of information it brings to the table without those ties to the community in the same way. I know that I appreciate the sheer consistency of Dice Tower and everything that they do, and the way Tom is always trying to mix up the way he presents anything on his channel, and the way there's constant changes. Once upon a time, there was a concept of a 4-square Dice Tower review where multiple people were giving opinions, and that was a thing that was different for them. And now that's all they do. All the videos are multiple people giving opinions, as opposed to the vast majority being a singular person giving an opinion. It's very much changed the landscape. It seems like it's tremendous. They change things all the time. I know I appreciate any of the many people I talked about as far as the conversational approach and kind of, again, more welcoming. Johannes and Sinova, Board Game Ramblings, again, there's so many more. I'm only remembering some off the cuff as I think of them. But again, that same idea, that sense that there's almost, sometimes there's the people and sometimes there's the product and the presentation. And I'm here for the people. That's what I like the most. I like board games. I love board games, but I like board games because they bring people together. I like solo games too, but I'm just as likely to pull out a video game once we're going full solo. Then it just depends on my mood. Anyways, that's your week in review. A general something, a ramble. This is a straight up ramble. There's no rhyme, no reason, just a conversation that started, and then an ending point that I guess will be now. I appreciate all of you for being here. I appreciate you for making your way to the end of this video. I appreciate you for being a viewer, subscriber, commenter, all of that. I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I'm enjoying myself at Adam right now, and next week we'll be back, and I don't think I have any more travel for 2.5, 3 months, so things will be on a more regular pacing and a regular schedule. And the weekly lives will be more consistent again too, which is nice because I like them. I like the weekly lives. Anyways, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you have an awesome week, and as always, I hope you have a good one.